What is your name, if I might ask?
Colleran, sir. Bob Colleran. How may I be of service?
Mr. Mycroft Holmes is my brother, Colleran. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if we waited for him upstairs.
That would be out of order, sir. You are not expected, sir. Unexpected guests are not received by residents.
Colleran, I assure you I can be trusted upstairs. My brother summoned me.
So you say.
Have you not heard of Mr. Sherlock Holmes? He is our most famous detective. His cases are the talk of all London.
I believe little of what I hear, sir, and nothing of what I read in the press.
I should have identification which should entitle me to some consideration.
Consideration, no. But if you can prove your relationship, perhaps an explanation is owing. That's hardly decisive, sir. M could be anybody.
But it does show who I am.
Perhaps. Look, even if I let you into the vestibule, which I won't, you couldn't get into his flat. I couldn't let you in even if I wanted to, and I don't. Mr. Holmes has the only key. Lestrade requests my cooperation? I think not. I've never even heard of the man. Very interesting.
Could we go in now, Colleran?
How did you come by the keys? Your welfare depends on your answer.
There is no need to manhandle me. Are you a villain?
No. Now make me believe that you aren't.
You are some sort of government official, I take it?
In a manner of speaking, sir. I'll appreciate no more questions along those lines. Let's just say I'm charged with the welfare of the residents here and their possessions.
I see you have lately returned from South Africa.
I might have done.
You worked in the mines at least a year, but not for any of the usual reasons.
How do you know? Is it my voice? I fool most people.
I observed you, Colleran, nothing more. I don't recognize the character at the door. Be circumspect.
I'll follow your lead, Holmes.
There is something particular about that driver, Watson.
You carry suspicion to excess, Holmes. He looks ordinary enough, though his tailor is a good bit more skillful than mine.
Unless I'm mistaken, he has a pistol in his pants.
There are brigands everywhere these days.
But not on Pall Mall, Doctor. Look him over, please. His posture is familiar. Have you learned anything of significance, Watson?
Perhaps. The driver resembles one of Lestrade's lackeys from years ago, party named Tall Boy.
That's right. I remember him now. Suggestions, Watson?
I wish I had one, Holmes. I'm sorry. The brilliance of Pall Mall makes me feel duller than usual.
Do you know my brother was injured in the Diogenes explosion?
You've got my attention.
We took him to Bart's. I got his keys from there. I'm not at liberty to say more.
If you don't, you may be without liberty, period.
That sounded distinctly like a threat.
As you like.
My brother summoned me, Colleran, but the explosion struck him down before we met. I'm trying to discover the reason for his rare summons. He is currently unable to speak cogently.
A more straightforward approach might have served you better. I'm still not certain who you are.
Constable Tallboy, isn't it? Could I have a moment of your time?
Yes, Mr. Holmes, though I'm no longer with the force.
Would you be so kind as to vouch for my bona fides to Mr. Colleran?
I wouldn't mind. These two is all right, Colleran. It's Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Done more than one good turn for me when I was with the CID.
Thank you, Tallboy. Still at your appointed post, Tallboy?
Now and always, Mr. Holmes. It's good work, but not much of it. My clients prefer to walk.
Please ensure we are not disturbed while we are upstairs, Colleran.
Depend on it, Mr. Holmes.
The place that has known him will know him no more. Oh, Watson, the psalm is too apt.
Think no more of it, Holmes. Mycroft will recover, I'm sure.
He that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Too true, Watson.
The author of Ecclesiastes was not speaking of you, I think.
As a jewel of gold in a swine's snout, so is a fine woman who is without discretion.
Proverbial wisdom has its limitations, Holmes.
Render therefore to all their dues. I fully intend to, Watson, I fully intend it.
I know that tone, Holmes. I'm not sure Paul was referring to revenge.
Can you deduce a man's character from his furnishings, Watson?
Domestic fixtures cannot define a complex personality, but certain traits may be inferred from them. Mycroft appears fastidious, intellectually rigorous, and intensely private.
You never disappoint. Add willful, secretive, and lethargic to that list, and you have a serviceable thumbnail sketch. This room has exhausted my imagination. Shall we move on?
As you wish, Holmes, but from what I know of your brother, I would counsel patience.
Faultless advice, but that commodity is currently in short supply. How do you find my brother's taste in art, Watson?
Very refined, decisive proof that the family are not all Philistines.
Oh, you're becoming too skilled at setting barbs in my artistic judgment.
It's not difficult to hit such a large target. Come now, Holmes. A man excellent in so many things must accept exaggerated notice of his sole self-admitted deficiency.
Assume Mycroft has written something for my eyes only. Where might he conceal it?
An office diary. Letters at his club?
Too public, too little control, insufficient access.
Here then, in a portable notebook or journal.
A fair guess, were he not pathologically thrifty and compulsively secretive. To him a common notebook would be an extravagance. Were he so inclined, he could write a novella in his minuscule hand in cipher on an envelope, preferably used. Have you spied anything of significance, Watson?
No. But how did he know that Colleran had recently come from South Africa?
I noted 3 items, Doctor. He speaks with the Uitlander inflection, but he is British. His uncalloused hands have been browned by the spring sun, so he worked outside but not in the diggings, and his well-tended agapanthus has not endured a London winter.
It seems simple when you say it. I'd be annoyed were I not impressed.
Pleased to have seen you, Mr. Holmes. My best to your brother.
Colleran, we'll just nip up for a moment. Want to check a few more things.
Very well, Mr. Holmes.
Can you deduce a man's character from his furnishings, Watson?
Well, domestic fixtures cannot define a complex personality.
You never disappoint. Add willful, secretive, and let... Give me your impressions, please.
A charming room, but nothing obvious or suggestive for the matter at hand.
Presuming we know what that is, remember this. Mycroft is a cautious man and immoderately clever at times. His character will guide us. What captures your attention, Watson?
Mycroft appears to work in his bedroom. Does he never rest?
By nature he's a slug, but when he's on the Queen's shilling, his relentless toil is the stuff of legend in Whitehall. The dispatch case was virtually empty, not surprising.
Has the flat been robbed?
Watson, please restrain your imagination. Have you seen signs of burglary? Mycroft rarely uses the case, considers it a provocation. Anything that invites public notice is anathema to him. I'm faltering, wasting precious time. Perhaps Mycroft is now more lucid.
Whatever you say, Holmes. Bart's is not too far away. I am not hopeful.
This is promising. Mycroft has devised a message for me.
Indeed, but what does it say?
What it says is obvious, Doctor. The question is, what does it mean? Remark, Watson, the writing is a puzzle. BQQMZ, HIJKLMNO, ampersand, BTU.
If you say so. The words need merely to be deciphered and followed, then?
Mycroft has not composed it for his amusement. I believe it conceals a set of instructions.
Clever. Apply H2O and then heat. Very nice.
Apply water and heat. Excellent. I think I can accommodate him in situ. Remark, Watson, the right...
If you say...
Mycroft is not... Note the red tint, Watson. Mycroft used sympathetic ink of cobalt and saltpeter. Water sets up a chemical reaction, and heat causes the writing to reappear. It's pure Poe. The message reads, "See books in Greek." My brain is moribund. Greek books. He has hundreds. Mycroft must be more communicative.
We may wish him to be so, Holmes, but even you cannot improve his condition by force of will. Exercise your own brain, man.
See books in Greek, puzzles upon riddles upon enigmas, Watson. Can you assist me?
I'm a dead loss at posers, Holmes, as well you know. But I hear what it says.
Well, don't hide your light under a bushel, Doctor.
What's the Greek word for books? You're the linguist in this partnership.
Come, Watson, will you share your impressions?
An intriguing room, but I'm too dim to deduce anything material for our inquiry.
Previously, you counselled patience. Mycroft is a resourceful and sometimes inordinately prudent man. We must be guided by his disposition. My brain is moribund. Greek books. He has hundreds. Mycroft must be more communicative.
We may wish him to be so, Holmes, but even you cannot improve his condition by force of will. Exercise your own brain, man.
Of course, the beginning. Genesis. Who died but was not born? Adam. I am a goose. Aha! He's done it again. If one puzzle is good, two must be better. We have what he concealed. We must discover the secret it contains.
Again, you've lost me, Holmes.
It's more sympathetic ink. This parchment contains a message, or I'm a bigger dunce than Mycroft thought possible.
Dunk it in water immediately.
Not on your life. Mycroft would never use the same source twice. Indeed, water might destroy it. Better to know with what he wrote it.
Pleased to have seen you, Mr. Holmes. My best to...
Have you noticed any dubious characters hanging about, Colleran?
None but Tallboy and myself, Mr. Holmes. I keep an eye out.
Does my brother ever entertain colleagues and such?
Excuse me, sir, but I don't understand how that concerns you.
Curious, Colleran, just curious.
Well then, to satisfy your idle curiosity, very rarely.
Does my brother... Have there been any burglaries here recently, Colleran?
A flat was turned over last month. Letters of credit and several sensitive but as yet unidentified documents were taken. New locks were installed as a result.
No jewellery or cash?
No, and that's a disturbing mystery, as I'm sure you'd agree.
Indeed, Mycroft had a strong reason to be cautious. What are you up to, Wiggins?
Perfecting me education. Care to donate to the cause?
I've no time for jokes.
Then you've no use for me. My life's a joke. A bad one.
I'm sorry I was rude, Wiggins. Stay near, won't you? I'm sure I'll need your assistance. I pitched a fair halfpenny in my day. Like to try me?
Why not? I've got no pressing appointments.
Holmes, have you lost your mind? You're in the midst of an investigation.
A diversion will refresh me, Doctor. Keep the penny for luck, my boy.
Is there anything you're not good at?
Personal relations have never been a strong point, and Greek irregular verbs.
And modesty is often in fairly short supply.
Wiggins, I want you to exercise your powers of observation.
At the usual rate?
Of course. If you remark any suspicious doings outside of 221B or hear anything on the street, report it to me.
My eyes and ears is yours, Mr. Holmes.
Everything all right with you, Jonas?
Can't complain, Mr. Holmes, and if I did, I would listen.
Too true. There's so little kindness in the world. Have you made any deductions, Watson?
None, Holmes. I have observed too little and understood even less.
Your honesty is both comfort and caution to me. Let us proceed. Are you adding to your journal entries, Doctor?
Yes, though I don't yet comprehend the complexity of our task. Writing will help me sift the data you develop and understand it in my fashion.
£1,000 to a penny. This parchment is the key to our inquiry.
How does a blank sheet of paper become a crucial piece of evidence?
Observe, Watson, and learn what a piece of work is, my brother.
As I recall, Poe liked Zaff and a diluted mixture of aqua regia for sympathetic ink.
True. A green tint would prove it, but I don't believe Mycroft used an acid. It might be simple rice water.
How can you prove it?
The proper vapor should provide us with an answer. Yes, rice water by all means. Here it is, Watson, gradually appearing. I'll read it. Sherlock, you've likely heard all of what follows at the Diogenes. I've prepared a digest as much to assuage my anxiety as for your convenience. May you have better reason to consult it than indulgence of my suspicious nature, or that its source is unavailable for comment. Allow me to re-emphasize the central points. 1. The moment the formula was discovered missing, my committee mounted a confidential inquiry. 2. Without substantive progress, the members inexplicably moved to adjourn. They would have terminated the inquiry altogether had I not intervened. Given their recalcitrance, my hopes are not high that we shall meet again. 3. Items 1 and 2 give rise to 2 questions. Who stole the formula, and why did the committee quash the investigation? I haven't a clue to the answers. Regrettably, my committee members must be considered as prime suspects in both matters. They are Lord Dennis Lawton, Mr. Horace Silverbridge, Sir Avery Fanshawe, and Mr. Philip Bledsoe. After initially promoting an investigation, they suddenly claimed that no theft had been proven, and that no vital information had been compromised. This is false. In unfriendly hands, this formula could have catastrophic consequences. Presuming the members are not traitors, idiots, or dupes, are they being coerced to make this patently ridiculous and dangerous claim? If so, by whom, and to what purpose? With respect to the theft, do not neglect ministry clerks, Thomas Pratt and Eldridge Whitney, and a feisty but engaging char named Agnes Ratchet. All 7 have sufficient means and opportunity to remove the document from its restricted room. You must discreetly discover the motive for the theft. I remind you that you have no official standing, and I must insist on complete confidentiality. For the moment, even the ministry must be off limits. Personnel should remain ignorant of your purpose, you may use no police resources, and you have no obvious leverage with the committee. Your inquiry must be organized by my suspicions and your own observations and deductions. I trust they will be sufficient. You've often found my suspicious nature amusing, and my penchant for clandestine measures absurd. So they may be, but as my current misgivings have devastating implications, I've taken these precautions in the event they may be well-founded. Mycroft. P.S. Did I mention that Dewar is securely hidden in Bermondsey, typically oblivious? At last, Watson, we have material facts. We have relevant knowledge and a structure on which to pin it. This matter is highly confidential, Watson. Are you continuing your journal entries?
Posterity deserves a record of our inquiry, Holmes, even if the current generation must be ignorant of it.
I'm acquainted with none of the suspects. Do you know any of them?
Lawton's is the only familiar name, but I'm not sure why. Perhaps we could discreetly trace them from the ministry.
For now, the ministry is off limits, and police inquiries are, of course, out of the question. This summary will shape our investigation. We must deal with Mycroft's suspicions without the assistance of other agencies. Kelly's might locate some of the suspects. Have you seen it?
Invaluable volume. It's around here somewhere, perhaps on the tea table. A team of archaeologists and a minor excavation might unearth it.
Mycroft's behavior is emblematic of 2 poles of his character. He is perspicacious and lazy.
What do you mean, Holmes?
He was perceptive and rigorous to the point where his analysis would have required physical effort. He suspected danger and took precautions. He prepared an encoded briefing. He called for assistance. But now he lies in hospital because he miscalculated the danger to himself. And that he did because it would have inconvenienced him to act upon the accurate calculation. Typical.
What are these other precautions? Who is Dewar?
Professor James Dewar is a chemist at the University of London. I suspect he is involved in either the invention or the perfection of the explosives formula Mycroft mentions.
Why hide him in Bermondsey?
A formula is often more by way of signpost for a mixture than an explicit recipe. Mycroft may have reasoned that the inventor of the complex formula was at risk from those who stole the formula.
Should we not check on him?
Indeed we must, but he's not first on my list. Mycroft has already done what he could for Dewar. Mycroft's list of the potential crimes missed it by one.
Yes, I see. He didn't consider someone might try to kill him. Given his other suspicions, the committee members are obvious candidates.
Neglect of the obvious must always be an error, Doctor. While I doubt their direct involvement, the crimes are certainly related. They may feed off one another.
We have a three-headed investigation. Who stole the formula and why? Who terminated the investigation and why? And who tried to kill Mycroft?
For the moment, I won't displace my attempt to find Mycroft's assailant with the other matters. Come along, Watson. The game's afoot.
Quite so, Holmes. How may I help you, gentlemen?
Would you describe me as a tactful person, Watson?
That is not the first adjective that springs to mind, though you might learn tact. Dame Experience is the best teacher, though we often suffer by her tutelage.
Fetch Lord Lawton. I must speak to him immediately.
I am not a dog, sir, and Lord Lawton is not at home.
When will he be available?
His lordship's agenda is not a matter of public record. You may leave your card if you wish.
I am always available at 221B Baker Street. If I was offensively abrupt, I apologize. This is not a social call.
I'm not surprised. Few come here for pleasure anymore.
Please inform his lordship that Dr. Watson and I would be grateful for a discreet word. We have a critical matter to discuss with him.
Very well, Mr. Holmes. I'll see if he's at home. No, my lord, I will not.
Do you require constant supervision, Mr. Holmes?
Sorry, just curious.
Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson, my lad.
My position requires further reflection. Billiards is fascinating, don't you think? At my brother's request, I am looking into the disappearance of the formula from the ministry.
And as a courtesy to your brother, I interrupt my leisure to receive you, but you abuse civility. The committee eventually judged that so-called disappearance to be unworthy of our attention. Evidently not dissuaded by our good sense, you come here to waste my time.
I could understand it. After investigation and due deliberation you had concluded that nothing untoward had occurred. But such was not the case. Why was the inquiry so precipitously and inconclusively terminated?
I won't be cross-questioned by you, Mr. Holmes, on this or any other subject.
Are you aware that Mycroft has been injured in an explosion?
I'm sorry, but that's hardly my affair.
I think an attempt was made on his life. The blast was related to the disappearance of the formula.
It's the nature of your business to think so, isn't it? Conspiracy theories are mother's milk to the consulting detective.
Are you purposely offensive or merely obdurate?
It is not my intention to be either. But if I am, it does not concern me. You have no position, no standing, and no authority.
Do you recall that gouty old fellow from Hampshire, Watson? Kept gerbils?
I do, Holmes. His affliction was so advanced, we swore he could chalk his billiard cue with his knuckles.
Very economical, I suppose. We know Lawton doesn't want to talk. We don't know why.
An accurate, though not particularly helpful observation.
Has the subject closed his mouth? He may be more forthcoming on less volatile topics.
Besides which fork to use with the fish course?
A touch, Watson. A distinct touch, for all his information may be worth. The fact that you are Mycroft's brother and that he wished to speak with you appears unarguable. It is likewise immaterial, inconsequential, and no concern of mine. Why have some of the furnishings been allowed to deteriorate?
Want of money, of course. The present Lord's personal habits have impoverished us and ruined our reputation.
I'm sorry, Jenkins. It must be a sore trial for you. You've been having a good run at the table?
Decent. I'm playing defensively. Left his lordship without much to shoot at. He'd never win a game if I knew the diamond system.
You must be very proud, Jenkins. You've remarked, I imagine, that Jenkins is devoted to billiards.
Indeed, the quantity of chalk dust on his waistcoat bespeaks a pathological compulsion more than a relaxing diversion.
I wonder if I might somehow use his devotion to the game. Suggestions, Watson?
Perhaps Professor Dewar deserves more of our attention. He at least is likely to receive us.
You may be right, but Mermansea is a very large area, and as I mentioned, Mycroft presumably did what could be done for him.
It may be well to ask, given his own experience, how well he did it.
Jenkins, I need to speak with Lord Lawton again.
If I disturb him without cause, Mr. Holmes, he won't come out, you won't get in, and I'll be sacked. He's in that foul a mood since the last time.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, Mrs. Mason. Is Mr. Pratt available?
No, he's not, more's the pity. Out entirely too often. Probably carousing with undesirables. Mr. Mason always said, and he knew.
Our business is rather urgent, madam. When will he return?
For all he confides in me, I might be the char.
May we examine the premises?
I thought you had a look of prospective tenants. These rooms are entirely reasonable and well maintained. Rather like myself.
Mr. Pratt is giving up the flat?
He's in arrears. I'm thinking of eviction.
Might we see the other room?
That would be highly improper, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Pratt doesn't even like me in there. He may be irresponsible, but he has some claim to privacy.
Has Pratt had any recent callers?
I'm hardly his keeper, Mr. Holmes. But since you ask, no. And no surprise either, moody as he is.
The room lacks traditional amenities, and the decor is rather eccentric, wouldn't you say?
Indeed, and he was civil servant. Oh, but he was born in India, you see. Quite bohemian, raised like a gypsy.
I fail to grasp the connection between bad taste and gypsies.
Never had a proper English family. No one to show him the right way. Artisans and habits, careless in dress. Housekeeping not above reproach. If I didn't tidy occasionally, his room would be a sty.
Ah, yes, I understand that type of remark all too well. Have you had any recent word of Pratt, Mrs. Mason?
Not a syllable. No doubt he's idling somewhere in the devil's grasp, abusing mind and body with strong drink and who knows what else.
Anything worthy of our immediate attention, Doctor?
This woman is passing strange. What is she doing here?
She's nosy, I suspect, and lonely, but I'm sure she believes she's protecting her investment, completely within her rights as a landlady.
She has peculiar ideas of a cleaning costume. Proof that beauty is vain.
Proverbial wisdom has it that one can be cured of every folly but vanity. We may have cause to test the truth of that pearl. Suggestions, Watson?
Perhaps Professor Dewar deserves more of our attention. He at least is likely to receive us.
You may be right, but Bermondsey is a very large area, and as I mentioned, Mycroft presumably did what could be done for him.
It may be well to ask, given his own experience, how well he did it.
May I leave my card with you?
I'm not his personal secretary, Mr. Holmes.
Nor did I presume it. Perhaps you could send a note to 221B Baker Street when he returns.
I suppose I might. I'll tell him you were here.
I would be grateful for your trouble. You find the woman in the painting beautiful, Watson?
Very lovely. I'm smitten.
Control yourself. Note the wedding ring. Mrs. Silverbridge, I shouldn't wonder.
One may admire without wishing to possess.
Your pardon, Doctor. It appears a child has been given the run of the house. Where is the lad?
At school, I should think. Or perhaps Silverbridge himself is of a juvenile turn of mind.
The puerile MP? They certainly act like children sometimes, but I doubt that explanation will serve in this instance. The possession suggests an active lad. Would you not agree, Watson?
My child's mind envies the bounty. Still, he seems a housebound boy, and that can't be all good.
May I have a word with Mr. Silverbridge?
Without prejudice to your religious affiliation, Mr. Holmes, might I have your Christian name?
Holmes will suffice.
If you say so, sir. Please wait here. You're still here? I thought you might have tired of the wait.
What is the problem, Hepplethwaite? Won't he see us?
As it happens, Mr. Silverbridge is indisposed and cannot be disturbed.
You gave him my name?
I did, and he does not know you. Mycroft Holmes, yes, but you, sir, he neither knows nor wishes to include in his acquaintance at present. May I show you to the door?
I can be reached at 221B Baker Street. Please tell him that I am available at his earliest convenience. Silverbridge has read the newspapers, I presume?
We have. His sympathies to you. The master anticipates a complete recovery for Chairman Holmes.
That's most reassuring. Where is the child whose toys litter the room?
Master Virgil's habits can be of no concern to you. If that's all, you may leave.
Mycroft, what about Professor Dewar?
Why did Cain kill his brother?
Yes, I know he's Professor Abel's colleague. I meant, where is Dewar now? Is he in danger?
No, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir. Where was the boy? The man who made it did not want it. The man who bought it did not use it. The man who used it did not know it. What's it? The 9th prime.
Enough of riddles, Mycroft. Speak plainly.
So very difficult to find really decent fish and chips. Buffalo chips are used for fuel in the American West. West of Chelsea, all mothers.
I apologize, brother. I was frustrated. I've got the pieces now. He has a remarkable mind, Watson. I know where Dewey is.
Well, if you tell me, we'll both know.
In the child's rhyme, the boy lived in the lane. The answer to the riddle is certainly a coffin, and the 9th prime is 19. Dewar's at 19 Coffin Lane. That's over the river at Bermondsey. We can go if you're ready.
I permit no one to interfere with my experiments, Mr. Holmes. Please don't mess about.
Beg your pardon, Professor. I apologize, Professor. Please forgive my carelessness.
No matter. Nothing there of great importance.
Professor Dewar, I am Sherlock Holmes. Mycroft is my brother.
I perceive a resemblance. What do you want?
Dr. Watson and I hope that you might help us with an inquiry.
I've heard of you, sir. We can talk while I work. I'm in the middle of something rather delicate, so you might choose your spot carefully.
Have you recently received any unwanted visitors?
None but yourselves. I'm accustomed to working without interruption.
Does your family know where you are?
I'm a bachelor, Mr. Holmes. My whereabouts are my own affair.
How do you come to be here?
Your brother insisted. Said the new formula had gone missing and that he wanted me out of the way until it was recovered. Most pleased to find this place decently equipped with research apparatus.
Mycroft has been injured in an explosion, Professor.
Nothing to do with my work, is it?
His club blew up. The police claim it was an accident, but we believe a bomb was purposefully set, that Mycroft was the target, and that the act was related to the theft of your formula.
Your hypothesis is based on sound data?
It is. And had he been as concerned for his own safety as he was for yours, we might not be speaking. Have you had your tea today?
Aye, numerous cups. Heat them on the Bunsen, you see. Very handy. Care for a biscuit?
No, thank you. I have no appetite. Professor, what is the subject of your formula?
While Abel and I were working with the ballistite, that's Nobel's latest, we refined an extraordinarily powerful explosive. It's more versatile and less volatile than nitroglycerine. The strategic implications were obvious, eh?
So you registered the components in compliance with the Foreign Office's Byzantine requirements?
I've made some further modifications that will affect bomb design and detonation velocity, but by and large the formula stands as written.
Could you replicate the formula from memory?
Though with great difficulty, perhaps. The formula describes a complex and unique mixture of chemical compounds.
Presumably, the acquisition and manufacture of such materials would exceed the means and expertise of all but a handful of state agencies.
I take your point. No one could build a bomb in the basement with it. Mycroft wasn't felled by my work.
Do you have a copy of the formula?
Oh, Mycroft said something about keeping a copy, but I'm afraid I couldn't lay my hands on it at the moment.
Where is Professor Abel?
He's lecturing in America, preaching to the converted or laying pearls before swine, depending on your prejudices. His family's with him.
Can the cause of an explosion be easily determined from its consequences?
Rarely, but with application on the proper research tools, one can often discover the cause from the type of fire, the nature of the physical damage, and the organic consequences.
Dr. Watson discovered some fulminate of mercury, but we exhausted the supply in our experiments.
If the explosion was initiated by a bomb, there is likely to be more evidence of the fact, a timing or detonation device, chemical burns or some such.
No offense, Professor, but I've rarely whiffed such a rank odour.
No offence taken. One man's perfume is another's offal. The smells do have their uses. I believe the neighbours think I'm experimenting with new mixtures of fertiliser.
Contrary to the old saw, ignorance is never bliss, but it may serve a purpose. Professor, could you analyze this spring? I have reason to believe that...
Enough, Mr. Holmes. I see what it is. You suspect it has material importance to the detonation of your bomb. Don't bias the inquiry further. I must form my own conclusions.
Excellent. Very sound practice.
How can I reach you?
Send a note to 221B Baker Street when you have the results. Do you recognize that penetrating mix of pungent odors, Watson?
Rotten eggs, manure, and household cleaner, I should think. Disgusting.
Descriptively apt, but highly unscientific, Doctor. Ammonium sulfate and certain nitrates are nearer the mark.
Perhaps, but my advice is take shallow breaths or you'll pass out.
Suggestions, Doctor?
I'm afraid I have none, Holmes. My brain may be frozen. I doubt Sir John Franklin was ever colder than I am. In any case, the objectives of this investigation are becoming more obscure as we proceed.
Do you recognize this document, Professor? It was in the stove.
No. Deuced strange storage place, but it's safer than most. I never light a fire. Mycroft must have put it there. Put it back, won't you? That won't do, Mr. Holmes. Put it back, please. It'll save me a lot of work.
Any suspicious persons hanging about, Jonas? Witnessed any extraordinary activities?
I heard old Chadwick grin like a Cheshire cat at Miss Ventrist. First time in modern memory anybody had seen his teeth. Other than that, nothing special, Mr. Holmes.
What would you recommend as a course of action, Watson?
I'd follow my instincts, but I won't waste my breath endorsing that path to you. Don't despair of your own methods now.
Between the two of us, Doctor, there are occasions when feeling may serve us better than rational thought. Come in, Mrs. Hudson. It's from the Yard, Watson. Listen. A body pulled from the Thames at the Needle is not the usual type. Conventional identification impossible. Ticket stubs from the Whitehall line suggest a civil servant. As you aren't currently engaged, you might find it diverting. I would welcome your assistance. Respectfully, G. Lestrade.
Very civil of him. He wants your help.
Well, we won't throw it away. Keep it for a rainy day, but I have other fish to fry. Silverbridge, Pratt, and Lord Lawton are listed in Kelly's. We'll have to find the others by more inventive means.
Did Mycroft hold specific suspicions of any one of the 7, do you suppose?
Hard to say, but conspiracy implies multiple suspects. Recommendations, Watson?
Nothing material, Holmes, I'm sorry. Despite your best efforts, I've understood little of what I've seen or heard.
But you have an inclination, surely.
You might assert more of your own presence in the investigation. Yours is the finest mind for detection in the world. I don't believe you have fully exploited the leads that you have taken such pains to develop.
That a corpse has eclipsed the imagination of Scotland Yard is hardly remarkable.
Have you deduced the cause of death? Was it murder, misadventure, or natural causes?
Suicide, I shouldn't wonder. The body is obviously unrecognizable, perhaps from being submerged for a time.
Might we solve the mystery for him?
Lestrade evidently thinks so. On the other hand, he may simply be trying to occupy me. His idea of kindness.
A kind thought must count for something.
You have a more generous disposition than I, Watson. What does your intuition tell you about our next move?
Nothing. But cold reason suggests we should investigate Lestrade's nameless corpse.
What makes you say so?
Prudence. Lestrade is holding out an olive branch. Take it. He wants no animosity between you. Besides, he could compromise the confidentiality of our inquiries were he to get wind of them. He will be less interested in what you are doing if he thinks you are occupied on his behalf.
Your reasoning is sound, Watson, but I don't think I'm available to its inducements. My lack of progress is obvious, Watson. Do you have a recommendation?
Lestrade's nameless corpse still needs investigating.
Ah, that. But I would prefer not to be distracted at present. Do you have a compelling reason?
Seeking information from people who won't talk and, at present, can't be coerced to do so. It's frustrating, debilitating, and discouraging. We've had enough of that.
My previous behavior notwithstanding, I'm not a child. I can handle adversity, Watson. Failure, of course, is not an option.
Excuse me, Holmes. I meant to imply nothing beyond our need for a taste of success. Lestrade's often been an unwitting ally to our own purposes. You can deflect unwanted attention from our activities while storing up some goodwill. We may need him later.
As always, Watson, your advice is faultless. The question is, do I have the wit to follow it? It's time we made a move, Watson.
Carry on, Holmes. I'll follow your lead.
Do you feel as if we are walking in circles, in hip-high cement?
Perhaps we should investigate Lestrade's nameless corpse.
What makes you say so?
It would be a better use of our time. Those few people we can find won't talk, and at present they can't be coerced to do so. Lestrade could complicate this investigation if he gets wind of it. Better to have him mollified and thinking you are occupied elsewhere.
As always, Watson, your advice is faultless. The question is... Oggy, heard anything that might interest me?
Nothing, Mr. Holmes. You know I'd try to flog it if I did.
What do you know about the corpse just pulled from the Thames?
Oh, about half a crown's worth?
At that depressed price, I'll assume against all odds that your information is worth even less than usual.
Well, here's a free sample. The Yard thinks it's a strong-arm robbery gone wrong. Victim's watch and wallet are missing. The inquest is scheduled Thursday next.
As I suspected, such information is nearly worthless. How might the constable's commitment to his duty be overcome, Watson?
He's an officious brute, Holmes, but I'd wager you know his weakness.
The yard seems quite deserted. What's the reason?
Lawful folk are at home, and the criminal classes see I'm on duty. I'm always on duty. Haven't had a tea break in donkey's years.
Which is more bother, Lestrade being in or being out?
It's a fair question. Seems I'm the only one round here working all hours. Go in if you like.
Sergeant, what's in the evidence chest at the moment?
What in particular were you wanting to find?
Anything unexpected?
Your methods are strange and wonderful, Mr. Holmes, and just between you and me, there's nothing in there but my dinner and a flask of coffee. Is that unexpected?
Not really, thank you. I need details of the corpse you hauled from the Thames, Lestrade.
Middle-aged, on the thin side of average, shot in the head, cavernous hole, dead before he hit the water.
The crime was witnessed?
No. A riverman may have heard the shots. He found the body by the needle. He'll collect half a crown for the corpse. Claims to know nothing about how it got there.
You believe him?
These river chaps are a dodgy lot. You'll volunteer anything that turns a profit and nothing that won't. But I don't think he did the murder.
Where can I find this worthy?
The body's at Bart's, not a pretty sight. His face is gone. Can't even tell what colour his eyes were. The rest of him's all right. Hadn't been in the water long.
I was referring to the riverman.
Ah! Needham's his name. Constable on the scene took all the particulars. He's at the Needle. You remember P.C. Roach?
I've been trying to forget him for years. Still adrift in a sea of paperwork, Lestrade.
I'm drowning, Mr. Holmes. Going down for the third time.
Any more information about the corpse from the embankment?
Nothing you don't know about. It looks like a random robbery and murder. Much obliged to you for looking into it.
Was a weapon recovered with the corpse you dragged from the Thames embankment?
No, Mr. Holmes.
Where are the victim's effects?
I assume the M.E. at Bart's has them.
You understand we need to be more circumspect than usual, Watson.
You've always kept your own counsel while sharing an investigation.
True, but I've generally told Lestrade what I thought he needed to know about a given inquiry. Presently, I'm not certain what that might be. It's obvious Mycroft did not want official involvement in this matter.
Then keep a close watch on your emotions, and I'll keep my tongue between my teeth.
Is there anything here to detain us further, Watson?
I don't think so, Holmes, but you often extract valuable nuggets from what I have deemed a tapped-out vein.
Matron, we are going to the morgue.
My register requires an entry concerning the purpose of your intrusion.
We are here to speak to Dr. McCabe in his capacity as principal officer of the coroner's inquest. Lestrade's missive suggests a problem of identification. Is it real or apparent?
Very real. Extremely difficult case from his point of view. This is not a carnival show, Mr. Holmes. Leave off or I'll send you back to Matron. You cannot amuse yourself at my patient's expense, Mr. Holmes. Your brief from Lestrade does not cover every corpse in London.
We must stop meeting like this, Dr. McCabe.
I'd prefer a chin wag at my local over a pint and game of darts, but I doubt that's quite in your line.
You might be surprised. Inspector Lestrade has asked me to help identify the body that was pulled from the Thames. Is he on the slab?
I wish Lestrade had informed me of his intention. You know my practice in these matters.
What can you tell me about this victim's cause of death?
The formal cause was a massive cerebral hemorrhage. The efficient cause were bullets of large caliber fired from point-blank range.
Drowning and suicide can be dismissed then. I've been experimenting with ballistics. You have the bullets?
Useless fragments. I disposed of them. The large pieces must have passed through the cavernous exit wound.
Might I examine the body?
I know your methods, Mr. Holmes. Observation is your watchword.
Its corollary is that without knowledge, observation and deductions are worth nothing. Currently, I have very little knowledge. I hope to amend the deficiency. Could I see the victim's effects?
You know where I keep them, and it's only the clothes. He came in without shoes, and his pockets were empty.
Indeed. Most peculiar. Most interesting. I'll sign for the hat, Doctor. I'd like to take it with me. Doctor, did your examination reveal anything else of interest?
Well, his lungs were in deplorable shape. Tobacco, I should think. Alcohol had begun to ravage his liver and kidneys. I would characterize his general condition as dilapidated.
One bullet would certainly have done the job, Doctor. Thoughts?
The killer was a vicious psychopath.
Likely, but incomplete, I think.
If you say so. My interests are with the victim. Yours reside in the murderer. I prefer my work.
Dr. McCabe, please inform me if your examinations divulge anything of further interest.
I will indeed, Mr. Holmes, and vice versa, please.
You may depend upon it. Have you ever seen a tattoo like this one, Doctor?
Never. Not the usual subject matter. Anchors, lions, dragons, and such.
Indeed. A delicate Tudor rose, the emblem of England. The unique design, colours, and placement, overall quite remarkable. He wears the rose of youth upon him, the bard says.
I've always been partial to Antony and Cleopatra.
Has anybody come to view this victim, or any of your cases?
No recent visitors, Mr. Holmes. Not many seem to have your interest in the subject.
Anything of significance, Watson?
Lestrade must have been desperate to call. How are even you to identify the unidentifiable?
My vanity believes he considers me to be the highest court of appeal in detection, but more likely I am his last resort. Observations, Doctor.
Undernourished, reasonably well-formed, white male, age between 30 and 40. No obvious physical abnormalities. Nicely shaped hands, showing no recent history of manual labour.
A description that might fit 200,000 men in Greater London.
You would add?
He was right-handed, an occasional painter, oils I think, suffered from dandruff and smoked heavily.
I see the ink on his index finger, And paint under his nails. The dandruff is obvious, but I see no nicotine stains on his fingers.
Nor do I. Note the discoloration around what remains of his upper lip. That is not a powder burn. I assume he used a holder, or perhaps he smoked a pipe. Why do you think the killer used 2 bullets, Watson?
An accident or fluke. There may be no cogent reason whatsoever.
Nonsense. It was intentional. He wished to complicate identification of the victim, but the killer also told us about himself. He wanted to punish as he killed. Why, I wonder?
That's grotesque, Holmes. Perhaps incompetence was the reason, or panic. You always suspect the worst of people.
It is a matter of no small regret, Watson, that many of my low, mean-spirited suspicions turn out to be well-founded. A highly unusual, if not unique design. Comments, Doctor?
I will defer to your judgment, Holmes. I can't recall seeing anything like it in your monograph on tattoos and scarification.
I have some thoughts, but they can wait. What do you make of the victim's sodden garments, Watson?
Hardly a careful dresser. An office worker, I should think. Insurance, perhaps, or a banking clerk.
Excellent, Doctor. But what of his tie?
What tie?
Exactly, Watson. Where is his tie? Now, what do you make of the hat?
An extravagance, given his other clothing. Perhaps it reflects his ambition.
Interesting speculation, Doctor, but wrong. The hat does not belong to the victim. I believe it belongs to the man who killed him.
You will clarify that convoluted hypothesis at some later time, I hope.
Constable, it's Sherlock Holmes. I'd like to survey the scene. There's a murder inquiry hereabouts. You know Inspector Lestrade don't tolerate intruders at our investigations. You can read, can't you, Roach? Lestrade has requested my assistance.
No need to be snide, Mr. Holmes. I'm just following orders.
Following orders, the last refuge of the immoral and the inept.
What's that?
Your predilections notwithstanding, I will examine the scene, Constable.
I don't like interference, Mr. Holmes. I'll be keeping an eye on you. Might try to make me look bad.
That wouldn't be difficult, but I have better things to do. I'm sure Lestrade would be stupefied if you've discovered anything of interest.
I've applied my eagle eye to the area. There's nothing here.
Better light might reveal more, and the skills of the investigator are not unimportant.
Precisely why I'm on the case. Best man for the job. I know a crime when I see it.
Very sly, but I doubt your vigilance will be rewarded.
Who's to say? I'll be pushing off soon for my tea.
What can you tell me about the crime, Constable?
Why Lestrade needs you is beyond me. Seems like you're always begging information from us.
As you haven't solved the case, perhaps you might humor the inspector and simply answer the question?
The victim was shot at close range by an unknown assailant. Probably happened nearby and recently. The body ended up in the river. A wherryman fished it out. That's it. Permission or no, Mr. Holmes. You've got no use for that hook. Don't mess with it. It weren't used to retrieve the body.
Where might I find the wherryman?
Body's name is Needham. Jesse Needham. Lives off the Aldgate High Street. 6 Half Moon Passage. If you're planning a visit, consider a firearm. The inspector always takes a pistol east of Bishopsgate.
Ismail Pasha's gift looks hauntingly mysterious in this light.
And you can't see the damage wreaked by coal dust and the climate. A decade in England has mutilated the obelisk more than 3 millennia in Egypt. It's sickening.
The dolt called me an intruder. Can you credit it?
He's either ignorant or intentionally insulting.
A little of both. The moronic and the abusive are evenly matched in his character. Let's be off, Watson. I didn't really want to be here anyway.
We came here for good reasons, Holmes. Official rudeness or incompetence does not diminish their validity.
What do you think you're doing, mate? You got no business there. What do you think you're doing, mate? You got no business there.
Tell me about the corpse you pulled from the river, won't you?
I told the old Bill what I knowed. I was sculling near the Whitehall steps when I heard pistol shots. A little later I comes across a fresh stiff floating face down. I put one and one together, hauled him up from the Needle and waited for a copper.
The steps are a good bit west of the Needle, and the tide was running out to sea. You were lucky to catch up with the body.
If you've seen the body, you got an odd notion of luck. The police were satisfied.
Have you done army service, Needham?
I wouldn't say no to the Queen's shilling, but I never fancied work on land.
The Navy, then? You were a sailor?
Never. Bunch of ponces in uniform, couldn't navigate a drainage ditch. Seen 'em struggle in the Deptford Reach, just running with the tide.
What were you doing on the river, Mr. Needham?
Trying to earn me brass. Man's got to work day and night just to live in these hard times.
Forget the fable you told the police. I think you witnessed a crime on the embankment.
I saw naught.
Nonsense. You were close by. With no experience of small arms, you identified pistol shots. Whitehall is too distant to hear distinctly, even over water, and from there you'd never catch up to a body moving on the tide.
That's just talk. You know what they say, talk is cheap.
It depends on the subject and the speaker. The police might find my argument pure gold.
Tin more like, or I don't know, P.C. Roach and Inspector Lestrade.
You have a point. Strangely, the corpse you found had no personal effects. Perhaps some of them found their way here.
You'll never know. Got no rights to snoop. Man's home's his castle.
If you'd prefer, I can bring back a warrant and a load of policemen.
No need for that. I'm guilty of nothing. I didn't shoot the bloke. I kept him from going to sea.
And took a souvenir from the body, Mr. Needham, a remembrance of your good deed?
Go ahead. See what you can find. Nothing worth sixpence, or I'm related to the Queen.
Tell me why you took the corpse's shoes. They're obviously too small for you.
Things from the river are like gifts, and a poor man can't afford an exact fit. As he'd lost the need for 'em, I'd figured to lighten his load as he passed over.
Very kind of you, I'm sure. I wonder if they exhaust the items you relieved him of.
Would you mess about with the qualities possessions? Poor man's got no rights.
I'm agog at the items you rescued from the river. True objet trouvé.
It's soaked through, Holmes. No good for use or ornament, and it will drench your pockets.
I suppose I can live without it. That tie belongs to the victim. What else of his personal property did you steal? A wallet, perhaps?
What's he care about a useless garment or anything from this world? He's left it. You can't steal from a dead man. No use for money. Can't spend it. Wouldn't miss it.
Were you a barrister in a previous life, or a philosopher? Maybe you learned that litany from Gaffer Hexam. Don't split hairs with me. Produce what you lifted, or face incarceration.
Search the place. Toss it. Do your worst. You'll find naught else. Would you mess about with the qualities possessions? Poor man's got no rights.
I'm agog at the items you rescued from the river. True objet trouvé. When did you lose your family, Needham?
My missus and daughter died by cholera. I've been alone these 20 years.
I'm sorry. A solitary life is hard.
Would you mess about?
I'm agog at the items. Have you noticed, Doctor, that the East End reduces life to basics?
If you mean it appears a mere struggle for survival, Holmes, I do.
Hobbes was right, I fear. Existence on these terms is solitary, nasty, brutish, and short. What do you make of the environs, Watson?
Very little, Holmes. Being here is singularly depressing.
Quite. Not 3 miles from the Houses of Parliament, the storied amenities of the Empire appear a very different thing. I would have expected a hidey-hole somewhere, but I don't spy one.
A place to conceal small objects, as might come from corpses?
Got it in one.
The room is so vulnerable and insecure. He may fear leaving anything valuable behind, even hidden away.
You are a thief, Needham. British justice takes a dim view of robbing the dead.
Get stuffed. I found them items.
If you compel me, I'll have you stripped and searched.
Easy now. There was little enough. A watch and chain, 1/2 crown and 3 pennies.
Unless you'd prefer a cell at Pentonville, it had better be. What you took is of less interest to me than what you know. I mean you no harm, but I intend to know all that you know about this crime.
How do I know you'll play straight with me?
You have my word.
A sign of good faith would be more convincing.
Keep the things you found, Needham. I can't approve your action, but I won't condemn it either.
That's friendly, I think. Ta.
I'd like you to return with us to the embankment. Will you do that?
I've given up everything I have.
I think not. I want to hear exactly what you witnessed, at the Needle, in situ.
Maybe I'll do better with the coppers.
You may think so. I couldn't comment. I promise to be fair.
If there's no other way, I'll go. You're a gentleman until you prove yourself otherwise. We can take my worry.
You witnessed a murder here, Mr. Needham. Tell me everything. No prevarications, please.
It's an habit, and I got reasons I don't mind saying. I'm frightened, Mr. Holmes. These was cold customers.
I'll keep your part in this a secret, Needham. Just tell me the truth.
I'll take you at your word. I just tied up at the Needle to rest, been sculling for hours with nothing to show for it. I'm about to climb the stairs when a voice says,
I'll take whatever you've got.
Oh, I thinks, there's something dodgy, a robbery maybe, but right away a different voice says,
I might have £1 in my wallet, I'll look.
well, I thinks, that's all right then, and I'm about to show myself when the second voice says,
Vincent, what are you doing?
and there's an explosion. And then another. My head's ringing. A body tumbles into the river. I'm shaking. But I peek round the wall. A third man on the landing towers over a bloke holding a pistol. I hide again.
Du bist wahnsinnig.
There's a few hard words. A slap, a scrape, and a splash. Then footsteps moving away. That's it, Mr. Holmes, for true. I went to fetch the body before it got swept downstream.
Tell me about the argument after the shots. What exactly did you hear?
A strange voice says something odd like dubious fancy, and then a sound like clapping hands, a clank and a scraping sound, quick like, and a splash in the water opposite the bow of my wherry, then footsteps moving away.
What do you recall about the men you saw?
I never seen the victim's face, and when I picked him up, his face was gone. The killer wore a dark coat and hat, collar up, had hard eyes. The third bloke came out of the light. I saw him a little, big hat and cape, yellow beard and some sort of mark on his right cheek.
Thank you, Mr. Needham.
Can I be on my way then? Some good pickings out there.
Just a bit longer. You're an invaluable witness, very observant.
I make my living with my eyes.
Could you find the object that made the splash, Mr. Needham?
Water and me don't agree, Garver. Don't swim, don't even wade, don't drink it, hardly bathe in it.
I've noticed. You won't need to get wet. I want your guidance. Just tell me where you heard the splash.
How bad did you need it?
A guinea's worth?
It's as good as found. If you got the means, I got the will.
Be specific, Mr. Needham. We're looking for a critical piece of evidence.
It's deep in the corner, close to the wall, I swear to it.
Good job, Needham. Your eye is incomparable.
Nasty things, wet, Mr. Holmes, but dangerous for all that, I'll wager.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Needham. I hope we have no need to trouble you further. This could be instructive, very promising. A mass-produced button is less informative than its custom-made predecessor, but it might mean something to Stitch Rumsey.
You'll wear out your welcome with him. You don't even know the provenance of that piece.
Do you often tie up on the embankment, Mr. Needham?
Haven't got the habit yet, and there's nothing of value on land for me, but I like the needle, interesting to look at, to think about.
There's some writing on the fob, but I can't make it out.
You need better light.
I'll need a good bit more than that. If you might spare me a moment, Stitch, I would appreciate it.
Right away, Mr. Holmes. I'm just finishing up with Mrs. Rowbottom.
I'll tell you when we're finished, Mr. Rumsey. I'm paying good money and I expect no less than your undivided attention.
I beg your pardon, madam. Might I have a brief word with Mr. Rumsey?
No, Mr. Rumsey is not free.
What is that racket, Watson?
The treadles of sewing machines, I imagine.
I mean the voices.
Can you not appreciate the dulcet tones of the Orient, Holmes?
My pedestrian mind cannot appreciate what it cannot understand. I'll grow grey before Mrs. Rowbottom is satisfied.
Claim pressing business, national emergency, and so on.
Worthless. I know her type. Obstinate as a mule.
A pointed threat might remove her recalcitrance.
Watson, you surprise me. Besides, have you not remarked the size of her handbag? Who knows what she has in there? I've decided on a strategy to shift La Rowbottom.
A subterfuge, then, but not too subtle, I hope. It would be lost on her.
She appears to be a woman whose sense of propriety may be vulnerable to judicious tweaking. Follow my lead.
Try not to be too offensive. She's Rumsey's customer, after all.
Have you chosen a fabric for one of Rumsey's incomparable suits?
In my dreams, Holmes. The practice won't support one at the moment. Perhaps when we're famous.
Among the costumes, the hero of Trafalgar seems a popular choice.
One wonders if the jacket comes sans right sleeve. Perhaps an eye patch may be let.
The fabric of your frock has become a favourite of the demi-monde.
You've seen it elsewhere?
Indeed. Watson, did we not recently see this particular material at the Chelsea Burlesque?
That young woman whom Bingo Oakshott insists on calling his protégée was draped in it. A dress, wasn't it? What there was of it.
You disremember her dress, but she had it on so briefly. No, it was the drawing-room curtains which she wore as a shawl.
Or was it a towel from the loo? Good day to you, madam.
I'm sorry, Stitch. I had to get rid of her.
Oh, I can live without her custom, Mr. Holmes. Much more trouble than it's worth. If you're looking for a job as a floor walker, I'll hire you.
This needle seems to have outlived its usefulness. Might I take it?
You're welcome to it. It served me well. May it serve you, though I can't imagine how.
Has the move to Jermyn Street been advantageous, Stitch?
A bit more money, but I don't laugh so much as I did in Piccadilly.
A more serious sort of clientele comes round here?
They take themselves more seriously anyways. They dress better, more brass, but they're much the same.
I'm not surprised that a man of your experience is undeceived by appearances. What can your practised eye tell me about this button, Stitch?
I'm sure you know its tortoise shell has a continental finish, Dutch maybe. The thread is nothing special, sewn to a coat, I'd say. Not off the peg, custom made, but not too dear.
Available locally?
Not here. I've got the largest inventory in England. Help yourself, you need one.
I've a mission for you, boy. Small chance of success, but the game is worth the candle.
Nice to be needed, sir. What's the job?
Find a man, thick-set, tall, fair, and bearded, perhaps a blemish on one cheek, maybe wearing a dark cape and slouch hat over country clothes.
A gentleman? Eye colour? Age? Habits?
Unobserved, confine your efforts to Trafalgar and the embassies, and be careful. At the very least, he keeps dangerous company. Have you seen Wiggins, Jonas?
Isn't he here? I see so little these days. Likely he's out parading the streets. Or is he on a job for you?
One of the boy's many qualities is that he barely distinguishes work from play. Any suspicious persons hanging about, Jonas? Witnessed any dubious activities?
None but the usual suspects, Mr. Holmes. As for questionable actions, I received a tip from old Lady Simpkins, the first in at least a decade.
Will you share your thoughts about our case, Watson?
Oh, I regret my head is as empty as my pockets, Holmes.
Recommendations, Watson?
Nothing material, Holmes. I'm sorry. Despite your best efforts, I've understood little of what I've seen or heard.
But you have an inclination, surely.
Well, you might assert more of your own presence in the investigation. Yours is the finest mind for detection in the world. I don't believe you have exploited the leads that you have taken such pains to develop.
The microscope can't do better than my eye. The gold is old, thin, and smeared. You might want to open the window, Watson.
If you're going to use acid on the metal, please take care. You remember what happened last time. Very unsettling to hear a woman of advanced years yell that loudly.
The aqua regia removed the gold fill very nicely. The engraving is visible. The inscription reads, "To commemorate your majority, 23676." If our victim was a Cambridge man, he probably entered in 74. Let's be off, Watson. A journey will settle my nerves.
As if you had any.
Keep an eye on our backs, will you? More than once I've had the impression that we were being followed.
Your imagination is only slightly smaller than your ego. Why would anyone follow us?
To learn where we go and what we do, and to extrapolate what we know from that. In short, Watson, for information, the world's most valuable commodity. Let us resume our investigation, Watson.
I'm prepared to follow you anywhere, Holmes.
All aboard! Train to Eastham, Cambridge, Newmarket and Norwich.
Fleming's been porter at Magdalen since King Charles lost his head. Marvellous character. Remembers everything. And he's eager to tell it all for a pint or two.
Was Magdalen your college then?
No, my chemistry tutor was a fellow there. I visited his rooms one term.
I've never been clear on your university days. Where did you study when you came up?
I need to rest, Watson. Wake me when we arrive, will you?
Sleeping? That's fine. Wonderful. What about our other inquiries? Any ideas? Do you think Mycroft is still in danger? Are we? Well, I suppose nothing much can happen on a train.
Fleming? Fleming, old fellow, how are you?
College closed.
Fleming, I say rouse yourself, sir. This won't do, Watson. He requires some hair from the dog that bit him.
It must have been a huge dog. Shall I check his pulse?
No need. Collect a couple of bottles of strong ale from the public house we passed, will you? Mind it's not small beer.
Some porter for the porter. Sorry, Holmes.
Will you have a drink, Fleming?
Never while on duty, sir. Now, please move along. You're trespassing on college grounds.
Would you oblige us, Fleming, with your opinion? We're evaluating this ale.
Happy to assist young gentlemen in the pursuit of knowledge. So for science, as you might say. Excellent. I recognize you, don't I?
I'm pleased to think you might. I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Of course you are. Never forget a face, Mr. Holmes. Just takes me a bit longer to focus. You're keeping well? Haven't gained a stone since you went down. I read your exploits and beatings. And this is Dr. Watson, is it? Pleased, I'm sure.
Even after all these years, my recollections of this place are so vivid. Is that unusual, Fleming?
Not at all, sir. We are what we remember. As the bard says, even purpose is but a slave to memory.
I need to excavate your prodigious memory, Fleming. May I do that?
I enjoy a good mystery. Dig away, sir.
I saw a tattoo on a corpse. Something about it reminded me of Cambridge.
A view of Trumpington Street.
Nothing so definitive. It's a neatly rendered blooming rose. You're familiar with such a figure?
If it was engraved on the subject's backside, it might be the badge of the Tudor Rose.
The Arcane Social Club? Of course. The symbol of England was their sign. I had no idea those rare birds marked themselves.
Since your time, sir. Been a drinking club for more than a decade, carousing and such. Nothing much secret about it. Old boys are ashamed to be associated with the newer members. University may revoke their charter, is what I heard.
Is the artist a local man?
Jack Canvas in Cheapside designed the tattoo version from an old print drawing. I'm told he recently passed over.
Yes, I should have recognized his hand, but my brain was fixed on the subject matter. The delicate petals set along the brambles and the thorns. Unexpectedly lovely. I've seen the painting, of course.
As a symbol, the old boys was thinking they were England's best.
Some of them proved it, but their successors took to advertising, trying to convince themselves, perhaps.
True quality never commends itself, Mr. Holmes.
Is this your bicycle, Fleming? I don't remember you as the foolhardy type.
Certainly not, Mr. Holmes. I'm unsteady enough on my own legs. Some of the young gentlemen take it out for a turn from time to time.
The Tudor Rose drew its members from the whole university, didn't it?
Indeed. Over the years, there's been hundreds of initiates.
Do you remember all the Magdalen men?
Their names run together now, but I'd recognize most of them.
Regrettably, I don't have a name or a face. What are these photographs, Fleming?
Young gentlemen of Magdalen, Mr. Holmes. I keep the most recent classes on display. Their families seem to enjoy it.
I have reason to believe my corpse was a Magdalen man and a member of the Tudor Rose.
If he came here after 1860, I may have him in my albums.
Could we look through your portraits of the previous classes?
But that's thousands of young gentlemen, Mr. Holmes. 100 or more would have joined the Tudor Rose.
Would the date of a student's matriculation narrow the field sufficiently?
It might. My memory's good, but not flawless, and some of these characters were more memorable than others.
I believe this boy turned 19 in June of 1874 and came to college for the Michaelmas term that year.
Let me check my photographs. Ah, yes, 1874. A rum class. Bright, no question. But rum.
Anybody there who later joined the Tudor Rose?
Let's see. There's Dundalk, the Earl's youngest boy. Died in the Transvaal, I heard. And Lawton is a lord since his pater passed on. An MP, I believe. Oh, yes, his special friend was Pratt. An orphan came to us from India. Strange boy. Don't know what became of him. And Cunard. He's making his fortune in Australia. That's all, I think.
Thank you, Fleming. Very helpful.
A pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure to see one of my young gentlemen.
Nothing changes very much in Cambridge, Watson.
I'm sure the pace of change is slow, but the aura of immutability is perpetrated by porters and dons. They are eternal. Everyone else is transient. They have an interest in perpetuating the illusion, and your frozen memory assists them.
It was merely an observation, Watson. Excuse me. Pratt and Lawton together. This is too terrible to be a coincidence, Watson. Our corpse is the ex-Thomas Pratt. I'm certain of it.
If you say so, Holmes. I'm a bit baffled.
Cambridge can reveal no more about the present case. We can just make the next train to London. I wish to see Pratt's effects, and then we'll carry the bad news to Lord Lawton. I'm sure those oars haven't moved since I used to visit here.
The very walls appear to have been built up around them.
Not so old as that, Watson, though sometimes I feel it. The oars came here in the year of my birth. We've just time to catch the next train to London.
Excellent. Let's be off.
Have you seen the man I described to you, Wiggins?
Not dead, sir. I may have done.
Report, please.
I seen a likely bloke on Whitehall, taking in the sights he was. When he jumps in a cab on the Strand, I follows, but I lost him in the crush where the Kingsway meets Aldwych. I just got the one glance, and he slid past me. Sorry, Gav.
Not to worry. Keep your eye out for him.
It was 1 and 6 for the cab.
Have you come to any conclusions, Watson?
You amaze me, Holmes, calling for conclusions before we've gathered sufficient facts. I'm aware that I've occasionally been over-fond of my premature opinions. I hardly need you to point out their deficiencies.
I apologize, Watson. I'm miserable, flailing around. I'm looking for company. Forgive me. The Telegraph is finally running Friedman's articles on terrorism.
He's learned to moderate his tone, then? I don't defend cronyism, Holmes, but I don't wonder the government distrusted him. He has an incautious and very sharp tongue.
More importantly, Watson, he has a very sharp mind. We may have need of his wide experience before this is over.
I know you respect him. That's certainly enough for me.
What of the man I described, Wiggins? Anything to report?
Not a word, sir. Not a sniff of him about. Sorry.
Have we neglected assistance from any quarter, Watson?
I don't believe you've fully exploited your journalistic connection. I know you value his knowledge and connections.
It may be time to pay him another visit. Return to the hunt, eh, Watson?
As you say, Holmes, return by all means.
Watch it, Holmes. You'll hurt yourself on the sharp bits.
Hello, Charles. We're not interrupting.
Just finishing up, Sherlock. How's your brother? Dreadful accident. Coming round, is he?
Out of immediate danger, thank you. You remember my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson?
Of course. Hello, Doctor. Make yourselves comfortable in the loosest meaning of the word. I'll be with you in a moment.
You've assembled a remarkable group of character portraits.
They are open, if slightly smeared, windows onto our capricious times.
I keep a collection for similar purposes, mostly criminal subjects.
And the small posters are my rogues exhibit, villains all.
The portrait of Kropotkin is revealing.
Admirable man. His major weakness is prophesying war every next fortnight.
Even anarchists need a hobby, I suppose. This small portrait is distinctive. Who is it? Or more to the point, what is it?
Well observed. That was, and may well be, Louis Baptiste Gautier, the terrorist absconded from the Paris cells without a trace in 1857.
Very interesting. An artist has introduced age to the image of the younger man's face, so he might be recognized if he reappeared.
Exactly. My artist drew on the old picture and then photographed his work.
He's a clever craftsman, your artist. Who is he?
Nigel Hemmings, illustrator and portrait artist by training, first rate. No one would buy his painting, so he took up photography.
The posters are very well drawn. Same artist?
Yes, Hemmings says the American police call them mug shots.
Peculiar expression. Some of these must be extrapolations from old photos, adding beards and wrinkles and so on.
Yes, and others are subjects I've seen and described. With a first-person account, he can age a man, get his expression right, that sort of thing.
Scotland Yard could benefit from his skill.
You're right, of course, but would they? I heard Lestrade say Bertillon's system of criminal identification was a bunch of foreign nonsense. He takes so badly to new methods.
Don't I know it? I'm trying to identify a man, Charles. Might I explore your memory?
You can try. I assume your inquiry is confidential?
Acute as ever. The man figures somehow in the murder of a civil servant. Secrets of state are at risk.
What does he look like?
I've never seen him, but one who did says he's thickly built, fair, with a small discoloration on his bearded face, perhaps a birthmark. He was wearing a dark slouch hat and cape, and he speaks German.
Language is not decisive. He could be German, Austrian, Prussian, Hungarian, Polish, even Russian. Anything else?
Regrettably, no. The witness' vantage point and the lack of light made expression and gait unremarkable. He couldn't even guess at his age.
No one springs to mind, Sherlock. Or rather, 10 men do, but are they in England? Is he a criminal, a secret agent, a diplomat? With so little to differentiate them, I'm useless, I'm afraid.
With such meagre details, my hopes were not high.
Give me particulars, man, then maybe I can help. Or if not me, someone I know.
Do you still have associates whom you trust at the Home Office?
Ah,
you suspect the involvement of a foreign power, don't you? Yes, I was thinking along those lines myself. Listen, when you discover the man's identity, I can introduce you to someone who might help.
Thank you, Charles.
A pleasure.
Might I have young Hemming's address?
He's a staff photographer for the Standard.
I would prefer a less public audience.
Oh, yes, of course. Now, you can often find him in his garret at 14 Montague Street, just across from the British Museum.
Is this profusion of papers really necessary? Place is a fire hazard.
Impossible to have too many papers.
Watson is always at me to cut down on my consumption.
One should never be without a fresh newspaper. No item is more serviceable. Absorbs grease from fish and chips, wraps garbage, or lines a threadbare coat. Use it as a towel, a fan, a sunshade, an umbrella, a dustpan, a carpet, and if worse comes to worse, heaven forfend, you can always read it. Help yourself to the Telegraph. It's hot off the press.
Your argument is exhausting, if not compelling. Have you had more thoughts about my subject, Charles?
I rather expected a mugshot for reference. By the way, are you certain he wears a beard?
According to my source. Have you heard anything about terrorist involvement in the Diogenes explosion?
Not a whisper. It was an accident, certainly, wasn't it?
To say I hope so would be as unseemly as it would be insincere. But if you've heard nothing, let it be. Observations, Doctor?
The temperature here is positively glacial. If you are insensible to it, you must count Laplanders among your ancestors.
Friedman's collection of criminous fiction must hold interest to a devotee such as yourself.
I'm sure it would, were I not colder than a lonely fragment of pack ice. Currently, I can only think of all that paper as combustible fuel.
A picture of our villain would be invaluable, would it not?
Absolutely. But if I understand Mr. Friedman, a second-hand source would be close to worthless.
Fortunately, we know how to avoid that pitfall.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Holmes. I've heard of you. I'm just trying this film. With you in Alphamo.
Might I have a pencil? By all means. Help yourself. I saw your work at Friedman's. It's exceptional. Would you make a mug shot of someone for me? Simple as pie. Let's start with a facial shape. Round, oblong, heart-shaped. You get the idea. You've a rare talent, Mr. Hemmings. Why not earn your living as a painter? My art's called unsuitable on Bond Street, Mr. Holmes. People don't want to look at what I paint, let alone pay for it. So you've settled on photographs? I'm resigned to it. My photos of accidents and domestic disasters pay the rent. They give me the time for my work. Would you explain this photo of you with Prince Albert? Caught that, did you? Unless you suffer from juvenility, or you've discovered the fountain of youth, it depicts the impossible. Too true. Not to brag, but given the raw materials, I could make the world think you hobnob with the Queen at Buck House. Reason suggests that you've combined two photographs, but my eye can't detect where one stops and the other begins. That's the nature of the art. Fool the eye and you fool the mind. Most people, present company excluded, believe what they see, even if it's improbable. You don't take tea with Her Majesty, do you? I've never had the honour. An oversight, perhaps. Just let me know. I can make it happen, if you like. What's this ingenious box camera? I've never seen one like it. Called a Kodak. George Eastman, an American, devised it last year. Completely portable, and the beauty part is it uses the roll film he invented. Snap anything, anywhere. Just find the subject and click. There's no exposure control, but it's a fair trade for the fixed focus lens. So anyone can take a good picture.
The Kodak will change photography, Mr. Holmes, but it's just a tool. It won't make a great photographer. Try it if you like. I'll need it back as soon as you're done with it.
Is your ability to make composite photographs unique?
There's a few chaps with the knack.
Besides the challenge, why do they do it?
Money, Mr. Holmes. I heard there's a hoity-toity bloke up west that's made pots of brass. Sometimes he just makes people look better than they are. For a price, he fixes his clientele in the company of famous persons they've never met. For an additional fee, he supplies the twits with a bogus story that sells the photo.
Do you mix your own chemicals and develop your own film?
Just my private snaps. I mix up an alkali developer in the sink.
What mixture do you use?
Phenol is a reducing agent, sodium sulfite to control the rate of development, and a pinch of potassium salt to prevent fogging.
Then you fix the photograph with water and sodium thiosulfate.
You know about photography?
Just a few pertinent details. Might we get to work, Mr. Hemmings?
Do you bring my eyes, Mr. Holmes? Otherwise we're just fooling ourselves.
I believe the young man is a gifted artist, Watson.
You've added the arrow art criticism to your quiver of skills, then?
I know you believe my ideas of art are crude, but I remind you to remember my origins. Art in the blood takes strange forms.
Though not medically attested, certain delusions may also be hereditary.
Once again, we are insufficient for the task, Doctor.
A general description is worthless. You remarked that we might need the riverman's eyewitness account. The devil is in details, as they say.
Though correct, I shouldn't like to know those who say so. Mugshots will be a crucial investigative tool in the future, Watson.
I'm sure you are right. The issue is, will the police have the sense to use it?
I wouldn't care to predicate its future success on my answer. I need your help, Mr. Needham. Will you come with us, please?
Why this time?
A picture artist needs you to describe the man you saw at the Needle. The third man. I wouldn't expect you to do it for free.
Oh, that's all right then. A commission, like. As long as the brute don't know it's me what described him, he had a dangerous aspect.
Brought the eyes, have you? Be right with you.
Does the work of a professional photographer appeal to you, Needham?
What would I have to do, Mr. Holmes?
They'd pay you to look at certain things and take pictures with a camera.
Most of what I see, I'd rather forget. Would they pay me to forget?
Not for what you've seen, sir. Unfortunately, no one would pay for that. This is Mr. Needham. He has seen the person I want drawn.
Excellent. You and I will get busy. Perhaps you'll occupy yourself, Mr. Holmes.
Needham, please describe the gentleman you saw in profile at the embankment, the third man.
I can't add nothing to what I already told you, Mr. Holmes.
A tall man with an unkempt beard and a stain of some sort on his left cheek, correct?
That's him.
Perhaps you could give us a moment alone, Mr. Holmes? We'll put something together.
Oh, sorry. Of course. I'll look about, shall I? How would you evaluate Needham's powers of observation?
Acute. He was clear on the facial structure and proportions, cast of the eyes and position of the ears. There are some problems, but we muddled through. Wonder if the stain is a scar.
That's an intriguing thought. May I take the drawing with me?
Of course. Hope it helps.
I believe you did quite well, Mr. Needham.
Mr. Hemming says so. His questions reminded me of things about the gent I'd forgot.
In investigations and life, the right answers are impossible to discover without the right questions.
Ah, yes, he was among my candidates. The beard is new, probably false. He has dark hair. You're moving in consequential circles, Sherlock. Colonel Erich Merlendorf, alias Wachthund, the guard dog. He's Prussian, of course. The facial stain is a distinctively horrible dueling scar. Only a fraction of it shows here. It's huge, and he wears it like an angry mask.
Who is he?
Principal agent and factotum of the German Imperial Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck, fiercely loyal to his employer's interests and protective of his reputation, a very cold customer. What's he doing in London, I wonder?
No good, I assure you. Is he an official agent of Imperial Germany?
Not exactly, but I've invited an old friend to join us who can address that issue. Given your previous remarks and our shared suspicions, I thought he might be helpful. Is that a problem?
No, I'm grateful. Your discretion and judgment in such matters is unquestioned.
Carter, would you come in, please? Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, Fairfax Carter, Home Office Attaché.
I've heard your name from Mycroft, sir. Friedman has filled you in?
As he was able. Might you put us more in the picture?
No. Mycroft has requested secrecy. I shall respect that. Reputations are at stake. The nation's security, maybe. If I fail, you should know all. If I succeed, you will learn no more than you know now. Can we deal on that basis?
I am not entirely without other sources of information, as I think you know. Your commitment to your brother's cause is commendable.
You presumably heard us speaking of Colonel Merlendorf?
I did.
It must be assumed that this Prussian is involved in an operation hostile to British interests. Is it possible he has the Kaiser's blessing and the sanction of the German imperial government?
I don't believe so. I fervently hope not. He would not risk it. He would not do it.
Your reasons?
The Kaiser is trying to curb the power and influence of his bitter rival, the domineering Imperial Chancellor Otto von Bismarck.
Explain, please.
Wilhelm has been courting favor throughout Europe, separating himself from Bismarck's aggressive policies. Discovery of such an operation would undermine his efforts to establish his own authority and demolish the progress he has made in repairing Bismarck's damage. Besides, he is currently well disposed toward his mama, the Empress Frederick, who despises the Chancellor. Finally, he would risk the displeasure of his grandmama, Queen Victoria, and his cousins at this critical time.
If it's not an official operation, what might the Prussians' motives be?
I cannot say with assurance, but I would hazard that whatever he is doing here is intended to enhance the Chancellor's position with the German military and re-establish his dominance over the Emperor.
I see. Merlendorf is Bismarck's creature, not the Kaiser's.
Exactly.
Can you help me gain access to the Kaiser? I know he's in London.
I could arrange an interview. The Kaiser, as it happens, is familiar with your name and reputation, but this would be strictly a personal affair. The government must not be suspected of having any official involvement in your inquiry.
That's understood. You'll inform us of a time and place?
I'll send a message to your lodgings.
What kind of man is the Kaiser?
Not brilliant, but he's keen and energetic. Has the regrettable habit of speaking of himself in the third person. Convinced that he belongs to a distinct order of mankind, designated for monarchy by the grace of God.
And Bismarck wants to put his thumb in the eye of that belief.
Correct. As a boy, he imitated Bismarck as an act of parental defiance. Now he's alarmed the Chancellor by imitating Frederick the Great. In the end, we believe him fundamentally wiser and more progressive than Bismarck. They'll certainly come to blows, and given your inquiry, may have done already.
Watson, your florid accounts of our escapades apparently do have some value after all.
Your gift for delivering a kind word, Holmes, remains unequalled, mercifully.
Your advice was inestimable. Hemmings gave individuality to a generic face.
I'm not surprised. He's a marvel.
I might have done, Mr. Holmes. This the geezer I'm looking for.
Very like him, I suspect. Did I mention there's a half-crown should you find him?
I'd do most anything for the money, but it's a big...
Not at the moment. Wiggins, could this be the man you followed up the Strand?
You find him then?
Only this picture. He's not naturally fair, and the beard is false.
He's taken a lot of trouble.
He has a lot to lose. You're still on the case, Wiggins. Don't put yourself...
I'd do most